All right, folks, today I'm going to show you how to do a beautiful, beautiful yaupon tea foraged from stuff that's just around my neighborhood, stuff that is out in nature. You can find, I've shown you a lot of this stuff before in some of my other videos. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Okay, and in this video here, what you're seeing is one of my locations where I've got some yaupon that I can harvest. Unfortunately, I do try to protect this location. They are medium-sized plants and I want them to grow into full-size plants. So I try to do this discreetly and not have a lot of people around seeing where I am when I'm doing this and what I'm doing, because I don't want a lot of people coming up and thinking that they can take the entire plant. That's not the idea here. Yaupon is a sacred plant. We want to protect it. We want to only harvest what we need and only no more than a third at a time. So always understand the ethics of foraging, the ethics of permaculture. If you're not familiar with that, I have done several videos about that in the past. You can check that out by searching Prepping with Sarge permaculture and they should come up. But I'm going to take what we need for today and then I take it home. I threw this in the dehydrator till it gets like potato chip crisp. Give it a little rinse first. Get a little rinse in the dish, in the sink, and then I run it in the dehydrator until they are paper chip crisp, and then I store it in a glass jar, and it is ready to go. It will, as long as you dry it right and store it away from sunlight, it will stay good in the jar for years to come.
All right, folks, so after your yaupon is completely dehydrated, you're ready to go ahead and make your tea. And I'm gonna go ahead and forage around the neighborhood, pick up a few little things that I think will add a little bit of flavor to this, but you definitely don't have to do that. What I do recommend is that you get yourself one of these little stainless steel tea balls. These will last you a very, very long time. I believe mine is over 8 years old. If you take good care of it, it will last a long time. I'll put a link to these in the descriptions down below. But what you're gonna do is we're gonna forage a few things to add to this. We're gonna crush up some of our yaupon, and that will just make it a little bit easier for the boiling water to release the oils within there and the caffeine that's within there. I'm gonna throw my tea kettle on the stove here in just a second, and we're ready to give it a try.
All right, and this is just stuff that I had around my yard. This is a little bit of sorrel, which if you've never had sorrel, it has a citrusy, sour taste to it. And then we added a little bit of rose petals. Now you can also use the rose leaves in your tea, but for this one I used just the petals. A little bit of wild lettuce. Now there's many, many different varieties of wild lettuce, so the ones growing in your area might look a little bit different, but they all have the same pain relieving properties. And of course, a little bit of Japanese camellia, one of the more beautiful trees that I have growing in my neighborhood. That has kind of a black tea floral taste to it when you use it in tea. And then finally, to add a little bit of sweetness, we have some nightshade berries. Make sure you are getting the right nightshade berries, not belladonna, which is poisonous.
So while we're waiting for that tea to, that water to come to a boil, let's give a little taste test to some of these things that I've foraged around the yard. Oops, sorry, just gave them a little rinse in this little tiny strainer cup here. We've got our rose petals. And what this is gonna do is just give me a little bit more vitamins, a little bit more diversity to the flavors in the yaupon, but give you a little taste test here. And I've talked about that before. Roses are like a sweet rose petals. Sorry, couldn't find my words. Rose petals have a very sweet floral taste to it. It's not super strong like a potpourri or anything like that, but it is a little bit of an acquired taste if you've never had that before. Then we have our Japanese camellia here. Also add a little bit of vitamin C and some other medicinal properties. Okay, very similar to the rose petals in that it's got that sweet floralness to it, and maybe just a little bit more of the floral on the aftertaste. And then finally we've got our wild sorrel, which I already know what this, I've had this many times before. This has a sour citrusy taste to it. One of your tastier wild edibles. Wild sorrel is really good to have, and if you look around, it grows all over the United States, probably other parts of the world as well. And then I do have somewhere in here, yep, there it is, a little bit of that prickly lettuce. Now I've had prickly lettuce before as well. To me it tastes a little bit like dandelion leaves, or if you've ever had any kind of wild greens in your salad, that's basically what this tastes like. Yeah, dandelion leaves. In fact, you can make a whole salad out of that if you wanted to. All right, let's give that a few minutes, let the water start to come to a boil. I'll be right back. All right, now we're just gonna let this seep for about, let's say 10 minutes. We'll come back and check on it. All right, folks, moment of truth time. Let's give a little taste test here. Oh yeah, that's good. So how to describe it? Green tea it's more like if you've ever combined green and black tea together. That's the best way I can describe it. Certainly not unpleasant. For a caffeine addict like me to have an abundance of free caffeine here that grows in the South is just a great resource to be aware of, to know how to process it and turn that into a caffeinated drink. Whether or not it ever gets down to a situation where I couldn't get my coffee, it's just a nice option to have, okay? So yaupon tea, very healthy for you, very good. The only native source of caffeine in the United States. Folks, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. If you're already one of my viewers, I thank you so much. Please remember to give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my tea. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.